Welcome aboard. It's time for another Get Stuck on Sports Thumb Coast TV edition. I'm your host, Dennis Stuckey, and we are joined today by the head basketball coach at Cros-Lex High School, boys varsity basketball coach Cam Mason. Cam just finishing his first season. Again, we just did a podcast, so Cam's going to hear a lot of the same questions, so it should be easier second time around. Let's start with a little bit of your history, how you got involved with boys basketball at Cros-Lex, and how you became head coach there when Lance Campbell stepped down.
Yeah, so it was about 5 years ago. I was getting a haircut at Lance's shop, and I just simply, I played basketball in high school and a little bit in college. I had been away from the game a little bit, so I just simply asked him, if you need an extra set of eyes, any help, whatever role that may be, I'd be interested. And then a couple weeks later, he called me back and said he'd like to add me to the staff as an assistant. And then, so I've been a part of the program ever since then. Last year, I coached the JV team, and then this year, I stepped in and started coaching the varsity.
Again, big shadow to step in because Lance had an incredible run there, where I think he went 110-10. Something just
crazy.
Ridiculous. And so a lot of pressure, I would think, but you stepped in. You guys went 18-6 this year. You went 13-1 in league and shared the league title with Yale. So I have to believe you passed the grade here in year one.
Obviously, yeah, everybody knows that the program that Lance had built over his time there. So it wasn't like I was stepping into a program that was, on the outs. But I've been around the kids, so it wasn't like I was a brand new face coming in. A lot of the things we did were similar or the same as what Lance was doing when I was there. And he made it so that the town of Cros-Lex expects the basketball team to win. So stepping in, it was a little bit dicey to begin, but I got my feet under me, and I think I got my sea legs, and we were able to share the BWAC title, and we came up just short of the district title, but I think it was an overall good first year.
I think the defining moment for you and your team came in mid-January, the first time you played Yale at Yale, and you were down in that game, and it didn't look good, and then you guys stormed back in the second half. Cam Saunders was incredible. He didn't score the first three quarters and finished the game with 16 points. You won in overtime. Peyton Old came off the bench and probably was the reason you won that game. But there were so many players that night that did so many good things at big moments for you.
Yeah, so that game, I think we were down 7 with about 4 minutes to go. And we had some players step in and make huge plays. Peyton was one of them. He had a couple of huge steals. Cam obviously hit some big-time shots to keep our momentum going. Shane, had some good defensive stops. Max was able to put the ball in the basket a couple of times. So it was a total team effort. Against a team like Yale, once you get down to Yale with the type of player they have in Jackson, it's tough to maybe make a comeback. But we were able to do enough to sneak out of there with a win and set ourselves up for the end of the year to hopefully get a share of the league title.
You had to play them 3 times.
Yes, we did.
You had to play Imlay City 3 times. And yet, you went 4-2 in those 6 games against what I think are 2 really good basketball teams.
Yes. Yeah, obviously, Imlay City, they have some nice pieces there. They have, Don does a good job of coaching those guys. And they had us a couple times going into halftime where we're shaking our heads like, we got to figure something out. And we were able to come together and sneak out of those games with wins too. Both overtime games. And then the last 2 against Yale, the home game against Yale was, we got out of hand there at the end. But going into halftime in the district final, it's a 1-point game. It's anybody's ball game. They ramped it up on defense. We weren't able to score for an extended period of time, and they kind of just slowly built that lead, and were able to win that game. So,
yeah, that was a tough one. I'm not going to stress on that a whole lot because the third quarter there was a nightmare.
Yes.
For you, and it was, that was probably the best quarter basketball they played all season long, and they didn't lose too many games either. You actually played 5 overtime games this year and won 4 of them. That kind of tells me something about the grit that your team had.
Yeah, so that just, our kids, it doesn't matter what the situation is, they always think that they have a chance to win the game, which is nice. I mentioned the two Imlay City games, 13 and 17 at halftime. They came out and won those games in overtime. The one we lost against St. Clair, we had a chance to put the ball in the basket at the end to tie it back up. We weren't able to, so that was the one that we lost. But yeah, so they just have the belief that no matter what the situation is, they have a chance to win any basketball game they're in, which is, as a coach, that makes my job a little bit easier.
So we've already talked a little bit about Cam Saunders. You had a very senior-laden team, so there's a lot of guys that we won't see next year. And I wanted to mention some names of guys that were key contributors this year, and that would be Alex Levitt, Shane Slanik, Jack Kerrigan, Corbin Allen, and Caden Osmolowski. You won't have those guys next year, but talk about what they meant to you this year.
Yeah, I mean, as a whole, I think Jack Fagan was missing. He's one of our seniors too. He didn't play last year, but he came back and played this year. But as a whole, 7 seniors, they bought in to what I was trying to teach from day one. Coming from having Lance for their last couple of years, right? That could be a dicey situation, but they all bought in and they listened from day one. Every single one of them throughout the year had a big time play and a big time moment. And so replacing those guys, I don't think you can replace them. The best you can hope for is that the guys stepping in were able to watch and kind of see what they were able to do and try and replicate it in the next year.
I know it's an ordinance in Cros-Lex that you can't say nice things about Yale. So I'll say this. At the end of that game, which was the last game of the season for you guys, I thought it was super classy that the PA announcer named off all of the seniors before they handed out the medals and the trophy for the district to the home team. And I hadn't seen that anywhere before, and I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah, I mean, as far as rivalries go, it doesn't get much better than Yale-Croswell, right? So it's been a few years coming, and although, there's no love lost between those two teams when they play, I think the mutual respect is there because, they're both good basketball programs, good basketball teams. And so, yeah, that was really nice that they were able to do that for our seniors, on their last game of their senior career.
Yeah. Two guys you will get back, I think, are two pretty good building blocks. Max Knoll already got a lot of accolades this year. I know he was all BWAC. Brendan Welper from the Times-Herald put him on his first team, all-area team. Thumb did. I did. And it was tough because there are more than 5 really good basketball players in our area. So singling out 5 guys and telling another 5 guys that they're not on the team is not easy to do. But one thing I know for sure, Max can score.
Yeah, he does it. A lot of times he does it quietly. Some games you'll at the end of the game think, man, I don't think Max scored all that much, and you look at the scorebook and he ended up being the leading scorer. So he does things within the offense. He doesn't try to showboat, and then I think where he really grew this year was his leadership on the court and off the court. He kind of rallied the guys around, and then defensively, I think he picked that up throughout the year, and he became a pretty solid defender for us as the year went on.
He can make the three, but he's not one of those guys that, he got 25 and he hit 6 threes.
Right.
He'll hit 1, 2, 3 a game, but he gets a lot mid-range and going to the basket and getting to the free throw line.
Yeah, so I would put his mid-range game up there with just about anybody in the area. When he's shooting a mid-range shot, I'm normally pretty comfortable that it's for the most part it's going to go in. It's more of a shock when it doesn't. And then he worked all summer and he was able to finish through contact more a little bit this year, and he added that part to his game. So it was nice to see.
And a guy that I'm really excited to see how much he gets better is Peyton Old.
Yeah.
Because he was the best 6th man in the area this year. And for being one of the smaller guys on the court every night, he gets an incredible amount of rebounds, I think, and then steals and the other things that he does where he doesn't get a steal, but his pressure causes a turnover.
Yep. Yeah, so he's always he's all over the place, right? So he's defensively, you know that his game is there, right? That's something that we know is going to be there, just with his effort and his heart and his hustle. There's not too many people that you line him up against that he doesn't think that he can shut down, which is, as a coach, is a good piece to have. Next year, where we're hoping that he expands his game is offensively. You know, being able to get to the rim because he's pretty quick. Got a pretty quick first step. He can shoot the ball really good too. So hopefully he gets some more opportunities there. And then, like you said, most times he was the smallest person on the court, and he averaged almost 5 rebounds. So just between 4.5 and 5 rebounds and over 2.5 steals. So he did a lot of good things, and a lot of stuff that doesn't show up on stat sheet is where he excelled this year. And as a sixth man, being his coach, I couldn't ask for anything more.
Yeah, and next year he won't be a sixth man.
No, he will not.
He'll be one of your top 2 guys, is my guess.
Yep.
The other big doings in the BWAC is the fact that Algonac is going to go to the MAC next year, which is a good move for them. Algonac boys basketball has struggled for more than a decade now. But that means Lutheran North is coming into the league, and they're kind of a wild card because in general, they have solid teams. They're at least a 500 team every year, and most years they win more than they lose. So now instead of, and I hate to beat up on Algonac, but instead of having that automatic win game, now you've got another team on your schedule that is dangerous and tough to play, and just the league now, top to bottom, there aren't many easy games.
Yeah, well, it just adds to the BWAC schedule, right? I mean, it's there's a lot of games where you expect to win, but it's the BWAC. When it gets in late in the season, you could go anywhere. We had a 4 overtime game in Almont, so anything can happen in the BWAC, and I think adding them overall is going to help the league as a whole, not just in basketball, but I think in most sports. And so I'm excited for it. And it's like you said, they're a wild card. I don't know much about them, but we'll learn fast about what they're all about.
So something I didn't ask you on the podcast: what's the place in the BWAC, the gym that you like going to the least, or is there a place too that you like going to a lot because you generally play well there?
It's not really for me. It's the kids. It seems like when we play at home, for some reason, we can't shoot as well as wherever else we go in the league, which is kind of a backwards way of thinking. But we had a couple games at home this year where we play every day in here. What's going on? So it's most gyms in the BWAC are all similar as far as setup goes. So I don't think that there's one that's better than the other or worse than the other.
Well, I know why you miss free throws at the one end. It's because they got me up there behind that basket, and I must scare the kids or something. I try to move away so that they don't have to look at me when they're shooting. But so I can understand you having a lower free throw percentage at home, but it affects the other team too when they're shooting at that end. But I don't know, because there are the BWAC. The gyms, I don't want to say they're all the same, but they're kind of all the same.
Yep, kind of.
You
go to Armada, a lot like Roswell, just different colors. North Branch is probably the biggest.
Yeah, they have a really nice gym there.
Emily City's a big gym. Just really just the floor colors change, and for the most part, they're all similar.
All right, so did we miss anything that you wanted to get in there?
I don't think so.
All right, Cam Mason, congratulations on a successful first season, co-BWAC champs, and many years to come at Cros-Lex, I hope.
So.
All right, there's Cam Mason, the head basketball coach at Cros-Lex, and this has been another edition of the Get Stuck on Sports Thumb Coast TV edition.